Good morning, great Americans. It's another great American video from Kentucky. It is August 26th. Not that that really matters, but I just thought I'd throw that in. This is just a quick video I want to address a couple of things that I saw online today. I think it's possible that we may be seeing how the midterm elections message, the messaging for the midterms might possibly be shaping up for the Democrats. So I have seen several stories that are very similar to this one. This one came out in Breitbart yesterday. Democrat Jamie Raskin has said that Trump is trying a Mussolini-style military march across the country. Oh my God. So what did he say? So he says Donald Trump is planning a Mussolini-style, which is the same as saying a Hitler style. I'm not quite sure. He should have just gone ahead and said Hitler. He chose Mussolini instead, whatever. Trump is planning a Mussolini-style military march across the country, discussing with the president potentially sending the National Guard into Chicago. Raskin said, well, I think Governor Pritzker was speaking for the states and cities across the country. You know, nobody wants a military invasion. So this is so stupid and ridiculous, which is what we've come to expect from Jamie Raskin and the Democrats and the extremists who are in charge of that party. This is just so stupid, literally stupid, and it's also highly uninformed. It totally misses the point. So what's really going on is that for years now, Democrats have been on the side of criminals and against law enforcement. In many places, they have been defunding law enforcement, and in other scenarios, like when it comes to federal law enforcement, like ICE and so forth, they literally attack them in the streets. Democrats are now the party who hate law enforcement and embrace criminals, whether it's illegal aliens or criminals like George Floyd. They'll build a statue to him or whatever. They are literally the party that hates law enforcement and embraces criminals. And as a result, crime is skyrocketing. And then what do? When they bring us to the edge of destruction, and Trump, the only option Trump really has to fix it is to bring in some troops to sort of stop the crime, they accuse him of being a Hitler. This is not going to fly with the voters in 2026, but I think, based on this trend of stories I'm seeing, that this is going to be, if not the message, at least one of the messages for coming from them in the 2026 bid. And it's going to flop. It's going to flop, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I'll tell you something else I have seen, and that is interviews, people on the street, people on the street interviews, and a lot of people, especially older people, senior citizens and so forth, they love the troops. I saw a video of a National Guardsman helping an elderly African American lady down the stairs in a subway in Washington, D.C., and she was so happy. I mean, can you imagine this poor lady having to ride the subway every day in crime-ridden the murder capital of the world, almost, Washington, D.C., and now she's safe. She has a nice young man helping her down the stairs. I mean, who wouldn't like that? And so the Democrats They are so out of touch. Their Trump derangement syndrome is so off the charts that they have lost total uh, connection with the American people in general, and even with their own people. That's why, in a recent report, Democrat Party voter registration is down approximately 21%. And the flip side, Republican voter registration is up approximately 21%. This is an approximate 42% gap, right? That is insane. And the Democrats just don't understand it. And now let me steer you to another story, which is further proof that the Democrats just don't understand it. There is a sort of a think tank called Third Way. I've never heard of them before, but they're called Third Way. It's a prominence, according to The Hill. Third Way is a prominent center-left think tank. Center-left, as if there's any such a thing anymore. I mean, center-left would be like the moderate Democrats who actually no longer exist. Well, maybe there's a few who still exist in this Third Way think tank. But here's, excuse me, here's what they're telling Democrats to do. And this is another example of them just being out of touch and not getting it. They are telling Democrats to not use certain words during the election. These words like cisgender and birthing person instead of a woman. Oh, there's a story. I'll get to that in a minute. There's a state that tried to remove the word mother from all state, from a bunch of state documents and replace it with birthing person. This is they're out of touch. But anyway, back to this. So in The Hill, a piece by Elizabeth Crisp a few days ago on the 22nd, Third Way, a prominent center-left think tank, is aiming to shape the way Democrats speak to voters. And they're telling them not to avoid words such as birthing person, cisgender, the unhoused. Have you heard that one? That's what they call homeless people now, the unhoused. Like that makes a difference. This is Orwellian doublespeak. I have a video about that. Orwellian doublespeak. Perverting words anyway. And also the word Latinx, Latinx. Which real Latinos and Hispanics just don't even like that, but Democrats think they do. In reality, most Democrats do not run or govern on wildly out-of-touch social. Well, this is a lie. So this Elizabeth Crisp is a moron and a liar. She says, in reality, most Democrats do not run or govern on wildly out-of-touch social positions. That's a lie. They do govern on out-of-touch. I mean, we just... Lord have mercy. So I'm not even going to continue reading this. But the point is that not only are Democrats going down a road with their messaging, calling Trump is making cities safer, and they're calling it a Mussolini-style military march. A Hitler style, he's fascist. They tried that it was just last year that this sort of extremist name calling backfired on them, and they're doubling down. So not only that, but they're going to play the word game, which is basically they're going to misrepresent themselves to the people. They are not going to use extremist, woke, fake words like birthing person, cisgender, the unhoused, and if I stop to think about it, I can probably come up with a whole bunch more. They're not going to use the words, but they're still going to believe in it, and they're still going to pass laws based on it. So basically, they're going to pull another Obama and lie through their teeth, right? You remember Obama. If you like your healthcare plan, you can keep your healthcare plan, right? Uh, One of the biggest lies ever. So, to sum this up, I see coming a two-track thing coming in the next election. They're going to double down on the hateful extremist lies about Trump because they simply just cannot admit the fact that what he's doing is working. And they're going to misrepresent themselves to the voters by hiding their extremist positions on various, well, let's face it, these are sort of sexual or sexually related issues, right? Birthing person, and this comes from not wanting to use the word woman or mother. Why? To appease the transgender community. The unhoused. I'm not quite sure what do the homeless really care whether you call them homeless or unhoused? I mean, I don't. That's one I don't even get. It's just stupid. I'm not quite sure what that is supposed to accomplish, but that's what's going on. So it looks like things are shaping up nicely for the midterms. Now, historically, the midterms, when you go into historically, after a president is elected, the first midterm election 2 years later, the president always loses seats, and it always makes it more difficult for him to govern. Listen, Trump has broken the rules. He's broken the traditions. He has defied the conventional logic on so many things. Is it possible that, excuse me, he will defy the conventional wisdom and he will break the historic tradition on the midterms too? Will he actually gain seats in the House and Senate? At this point, I believe at this point in time, if the elections were held, I would think that he would gain seats, and I think he would break the historic trend for two reasons. Now, you see some of these polls that say he's low in the polls, right? I don't believe him for a second. I do not believe those second, because every time voters are polled on an individual topic, right? You take one of the things that Trump is doing, let's say, cleaning up the crime in the city, okay, or sealing up the border. Every time the voters are polled and asked about each of these issues, their response is that they like what's happening. But for some reason, so individually, the voters like every single thing Trump has accomplished. And yet, for some reason, on the general sort of overall support, he loses. It does not make sense, and it does not track correctly. I can't. So if the Congress, if during the midterms, if the Republicans run on these accomplishments, right, where he's winning in the polls, if they run and say, look, we promised to seal the border and it's sealed. We promised to clean up crime and it's cleaned up. Trump has achieved peace and stopped about 5 wars. And I have an article about that too. Um, uh, and just go down the line. They're going to win. And what are the Democrats going to respond with? Trump is Hitler. Trump is Mussolini. Do you think that old lady in the Washington D.C. subway, who the National Guardsman was holding her hand and helping her walk down the stairs, do you think she gives a shit if Jamie Raskin says that Trump is Hitler? Hello. Oh, that lady's happy as a clam. And then as I also said a moment ago, you have the voter registrations are just telling the tale. People are there. There's a mass exodus out of the Democrat Party, and now to be fair, that doesn't equate into a mass exodus into the Republican Party. There's some exodus into the Republican Party, and Republican voter registration is up. But a lot of people are disgusted with, you take a guy like Bill Maher, right? He's every day he seems to be more and more disgusted with the Democrat Party, but he's not going to become a Republican. So how will he vote? Who knows? Maybe he'll vote independent or something. But so people like him may not add on an extra Republican vote, but it takes away a Democrat vote, and that's okay too. So that is what's going on. Again, just to recap, I believe it looks like the Democrat messaging for the midterms is going to be Trump is Hitler, which failed just 1 year ago, but they don't learn. They are so freaked out over Trump's amazing successes that they just don't know what to do. And so they're just going to continue with the same stupid playback. That's one. And number two is they're going to misrepresent themselves. They're going to not use the words that they like to use, all the woke bullshit, hoping to hide their true agenda. But I think the American people are a little smarter than that. Look, just Snoop Dogg was in the news yesterday, and he took his kid to go see I believe it was a Walt Disney movie. Excuse me. He took his kid to see a Walt Disney cartoon, and in the cartoon, there was a little kid had 2 lesbian mothers, and Snoop Dogg says, "What the fuck?" And he said, his kid turns to him and says, how can she have 2 mommies? And Snoop Dogg says, "Man, I didn't come here for this shit." That's literally his words. I ain't buying into this shit. He just wanted to take his kid to the movies. And now next thing you know, his kid's in the movie theater talking about lesbians. When you are turning away Snoop Dogg, oh man, that's pretty funny stuff. Anyway, that is it for today. I want to remind you again of our theme coming up to the midterms, and you can throw in the 2028 election too. The theme is stay the course. Stay the course. I'm putting a link in the description of this video. Stay the course. What does that mean? People are weak and wobbly. I mean, when Trump did the tariffs, when Trump did a few things, some of his supporters always get weak in the knees. Oh, I think he's making a mistake. Oh, I'm not sure I can support this. Just shut the fuck up. Listen, Trump is keeping his promises made, promises kept. He is delivering like no other president has ever done. He's winning on every front. Don't get weak and wobbly knee. Stay the course. Trust Trump. Support Trump. And I call again on every Trump supporter to do this. Whatever it is you did to help Trump get elected in 2024, if you volunteered, if you donated, if you knocked on doors, made calls, stuffed envelopes, whatever you did, you need to triple that effort in 2026. And you need to quadruple that effort in 2028. And I'll tell you why. Trump's victory in 2024 was only the beginning. It was the beginning. It was D-Day. We are in a civil war with patriots and people who love America on one side, and the extremist left-wing freaks, communists, socialists, trannies, and every other degenerate you can think of on the other side who want to destroy America and create a Marxist socialist state. It is a true civil war. 2024 election of Trump was D-Day. It was the first super major victory in the war, just like D-Day arguably was the moment of the beginning of the end for the Nazis, right? When we landed on. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment soldiers landing on Omaha Beach at D-Day. And then when they get jammed, if you know anything about World War II, there was a time when they got jammed up for a little while. They were jammed up in the hedgerows of France. They got jammed up by some Panzer's divisions. After that, they got jammed up at the Battle of the Bulge. Can you imagine the American soldiers just saying, "Oh man, this is getting hard, man. We're going to leave. We're going to bail. We're not. I quit the army. I resign. I'm going back home." Can you imagine that? That's insane. You're in a war, man, and you see it until you achieve victory. Well, it's the same thing with Trump. Trump's election, or I should say, it's the same thing with the Make America a Great movement, Great Again movement, which is more than just Trump. The 2024 election victory was just the beginning. That was D-Day. Now we are on the long march towards victory, and you cannot stop. You cannot say, "Hey, we elected Trump, that's it," and kick back and go back to your old ways. No. You are in it to win it. You cannot stop. Otherwise, all these accomplishments will be lost. So whenever Trump does something, don't get nervous. Don't get wobbly kneed to say, "Oh man, that's not what I voted for. I didn't know he was gonna break up families, and I didn't know he was gonna put a tariff on England." Damn, quit sniveling and crying. Quit getting wobbly kneed. The theme is stay the course and not only continue to fight, but double your fight, triple your fight, triple your efforts. We have to win big in the midterms, and we have to have a true MAGA successor to Trump in 2028. Because if we don't do those two things, all of this good stuff is going to disappear. I made a World War II analogy after D-Day. The high command, the United States and the Allies, there were a few times after D-Day when they admitted it was still possible to lose the war. Because if that invasion had failed, they could never mount another one. That was that collection of ships and landing crafts, and that was a once in a lifetime moment. They could never, ever, ever again gather that much stuff for such an invasion. And if it failed, you know, World War II probably would have ended up in some sort of negotiated standoff where Nazi Germany. So it can fail. And so, likewise, if we don't continue the fight, all of this good stuff we're seeing, we can still lose this civil war. We can still lose this war because even though it seems like the Democrats are being rocked back on their heels right now, do not underestimate these devious people. They hold the high ground in education. They brainwash kids in colleges. They own the media. And so even, because it's more than just about news networks. The liberal message is infested and seeps through all manner of media, whether it's movies and TV shows. And you'd be surprised at how the liberal leftist message is sort of embedded. It's like Snoop Dogg in the cartoon, right? You think you're going to see a Disney cartoon, you got the gay agenda shoved in your face, right? So, so this civil war can easily be lost because the Democrats still own many other positions of power. Like I said, academia, the media, and then even little stuff. Well, it's not really little, but even little stuff like when they take over corporations like Cracker Barrel and all that. Now you may say, "Oh, big deal." No, it's not a big deal, but it's all part of a bigger whole, right? They control a lot of messaging, and that influences people's minds. So stay the course, trust Trump, put forth all your efforts to gain seats in 2026 and to elect a MAGA successor in 2028. And I've gone long, so that's it, the end of it. Please subscribe to my Substack page, and please subscribe to my Rumble page, and please share this video, and I will see you in the next great American video. Adios, muchachos.